Hello and welcome to Perfect Glamour Fashion. Today's tutorial is going to be a continuation or a sewing video for the last video that we did where we learned how to cut a perfect cupped corset with yoke and bust caging. So in this tutorial we're going to be learning how to sew it. So stay tuned. So for the body part I used a velvet fabric and Isiago fabric because she wants to look like an Igbo bride. Okay. All right, so the first thing I did was to iron hairstay to the velvet fabric I was using. I ironed hairstay twice to give it the firmness you're seeing, and then I used paper gum for paper stay for the lining. Okay, so the next thing I did was to cut out my pattern on the fashion fabric. I gave sewing allowance of half inch for the parts we used to join the pieces, but I left 1 inch for the side. This is usually how I do my sewing allowance for my corsets. Now when you're cutting the bra foam, I used bra foam for this. Okay, laminated bra foam, whatever you call it in your area. Now when you're cutting it, observe that I cut that exact thing that I have in my pattern paper plus sewing allowance. I only added sewing allowance to the parts that I'm going to be joining. You understand that? But when I was cutting on the lining that I'm using for the clothes, I cut what I have on my pattern paper plus sewing allowance round it. That's why you see that the part that there is no joining, there is still sewing allowance for me to use and join it to the fabric. I hope that makes sense. I have a detailed tutorial on brack up, how to do homemade brack up and how to sew it. I'm going to stitch it to this video. Please, if you don't know how to do this, just go ahead and watch it. But if you watch this carefully, you will understand exactly what I did. Always feel free to pause and rewind and rewatch. Okay. All right, so the next thing I'm going to be doing is to join the front pieces. That is the 6 pieces I have for my front. I'm going to be joining it. Remember, when you are cutting out your fabric from your pattern paper, use notches, place notches, especially on the half length and the underbust. This is going to help you to piece your stuff together. The way I'm piecing it now, I'm just piecing it along the notches of the half length. I'm doing that for both the front and the back. Okay, so when I'm done piecing, I'm sending it to the sewing machine. I'm going to sew it. Okay, you see how neat it is because I've ironed it. Okay, so go ahead and iron it open with your steam iron, or if you don't have a steam iron, you can use water. Okay, to iron it open like this. So the next thing we're going to do is to create boning channels for this fashion fabric. Okay, so I usually encase my boning with the allowance that I use, my sewing allowance for joining the pieces. Okay, so I'm just going to run, because I've already ironed it open. Okay, I'm just going to run a half-inch line along the side I want the what's it called, the boning channels to, for me to insert the boning channels. So since you have already opened it up, or you can create your boning channels the way you want, but this is how I do mine. Okay, so since I've already ironed my seam allowance open, I will just sew half-inch after my seam line, and that's how I'll create my boning channels. But for the lining, I'm going to use Regilene boning, so I will go down half inch from that cup area, and then I'll stop half-inch below. But I'm going to trim this out before I start doing sewing on the boning, so that I'll know where to stop. Okay, so start half-inch after the cup area and stop half-inch before the hem. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So I did the same thing for the back. Now for this back, I'm going to be showing you how I sewed the Regilene boning later. Okay, so this is what we have. This is for the front, both the fashion fabric and the lining. You see how I did the boning, very neat. Okay, now this is the back. I've also created the boning casing for my plastic boning for the back, and then for the lining I had to sew multiple boning channels. Are you seeing how that looks? So you can just pause this and observe what I did. So apart from the sew line that I already added my boning channel to, I also created a layer by the side, just half of what I have by the side, and I sewed that, and then I created that's V shape is from the half length to the hem. Okay, so for the cups, I'm going ahead to join the cups, the fashion fabric. I will first of all remember to notch, so I'm going to place the notches together and join, and then I'll join the upper part. And I'm doing the same thing for the lining. I've joined the two small pieces. I'm going to trim out what I have. So when you join, top stitch very close to the sew line and trim out, then join the upper part of the cup and do the same, top stitch close to the sew line, and then trim out. This will make your cup look very neat. Okay, so if you've not seen my video on how to sew a homemade bra cup, please see it. It's more detailed and it will explain this better. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is bust caging. Now for the bust caging, you're going to go ahead, and bust caging is basically adding regeling bone into your homemade bra cup to just give it structure. Okay, so what you're going to do is to draw out the lines you want to cage. The first thing I'm going to do now is to use my plier and remove one strand from my regeling bone. You can see that. Okay, so that it will curve. Now when you curve that, I'm going to sew towards the upper part. I'm just going to sew on the outer line. You know where to use sew in your regeling bone. So on the outer line, not on the inner line. No, you just sew on that outer line. If you can see what I'm doing, you can pause and look, and you see that I've sewn only the outer line, but the inner line I didn't sew anything inside. Now I'm creating the boning channels I want to. I want to do the crisscross boning style. So I'm just creating it so you see what I'm doing. So just you can pause and just look. This is just it. It's very simple actually. Okay, or you can still do the basket style. It just depends on what you want. All of them will give you the same thing. Okay, so I'm going to use the crisscross at the end of the day. Now for inserting the rest of the boning channel, you're going to put your regeling boning into that space. You know that you didn't sew on the inner line of the first regeling boning we put round the cup. So you insert it this way and trim out what you have. This way I've not sewn it, but it's already staying. Are you seeing how neat that is? Okay, so it will also conceal the ends of your boning when you start sewing it on. Okay, so the next thing you do is to put in the second one, the one coming down. Okay, the boning line coming down. You put that in, cut out the excess, and then pass it into the one that you've already sewn round. To pass it into, are you seeing the way it's looking? I've not sewn this, but it's already looking firm. Okay, so just go ahead and finish up yours. I'll be taking it to the sewing machine to finish mine up. So this is how to do it. Okay, so go ahead and turn it over and iron. This is what it looks like after my ironing. You see how full it's looking. So go ahead and attach the bra cup to the lining. Okay, the lining of this is the lining of the bra cup. Okay, remember we had one for the fashion fabric, but before you attach, do well to notch round before attaching. Now I didn't have the video of where I fleshed out my boning for this. I had to go and get this from another video to show you, from another of my videos to show you, but it's the same process. All you need to do is to layer your bust with hemming gum and then place fiber over it and iron. That's all. That's how to flesh it out with fiber. You can also flesh it out with wording. You can flesh it out with gum stay, but this one usually looks very neat. So once you are able to mold it very well with your what is it called, your tailor's ham, let your tailor's ham always be under your cup before you start ironing it out. Now I also went ahead to join the other cup, the cup of the fashion fabric, to the fashion fabric. Okay, I've attached the cup. The next thing I'm doing now is to attach the yoke. Okay, Now for this yoke, I'm first of all going to be using pin to, because it's like a sweetheart neckline, just that it's not very down, just a little of a sweetheart neckline. So I'm going to attach it from the middle to the far end, then I'll come back from the far end to the middle. Okay, I hope that made sense. Now I'm also going to attach the yoke for the back. It's a keyhole yoke. Now observe that I placed skin nets under this yoke. That's because the fabric for this yoke is very light, so it was looking like something that would tear. So this skinniness is to give it structure. Okay, so in fashion designing, you gotta use your brain. Okay, sometimes your customer will bring you fabric that you don't know how to handle, but you have to use your, find a way to work around it. So now I've attached the fronts to the back of the fashion fabric, and I'm doing the same for the lining. Attach the fronts to the back using the 1-inch sewing allowance that you left for it. Okay, now for the last stage of this sewing, just attach your lining to the main fabric from the neckline. So just follow the curve of the upper parts and just attach your lining to your main fabric. Don't forget to, as you are sewing, sew it along with a hemming gum so that it will be easier for you to iron it out. Once you are done doing the next thing you have to do is just join the back, that is, join the line, turn it over, join the lining and the fabric of the back part, that's the center back, join it with a straight line and then turn it over to the front again, and then you're going to join the yoke. When you're done joining the yoke, you're going to add your sleeve, any style of sleeve you want to add, and then you're going to cut a bias strip and use it to turn the down part. Okay, so once you're done doing this, you iron very well and then you're done. Okay, I know this tutorial was faster than my usual tutorials, but I'll be in the comment section to answer any question that you have. If you have any confusion, just ask me in the comment section and I'll be answering. And so till I see you in my next video, bye.